I think the B augmented seventh section is coming up soon. What scale is that?
And similarly, if your head is buried in the chords and the scales while you improvise, it won't go well. You'll end up sounding mechanical, stiff, unmusical. Your improvised solo is going to crash. So yeah, I think of improvisation a bit like driving. I mean, think of how you drive to the grocery store and back and forth to work or whatever familiar destination that you drive to and from each day, right? You're not thinking as soon as you arrive at an intersection, what direction do I turn, right? And then further on, I think I should turn left here, because you know the entire route without having to think about the streets and the turns that'll get you there. You're instinctively anticipating somewhere in your brain the entire route. It's almost as if the car is driving itself at times, right? So if you're focused on one chord at a time as they appear on the page or, played by the band, you can't possibly create flowing musical phrases that result in satisfying music, for you or your audience. Because your ear is not hearing or anticipating where you're going. You're stuck inside your head. You're focused on one chord or at best one harmonic section at a time. You're not hearing and anticipating the full upcoming harmony and, weaving your way melodically accordingly. This is exactly why some tunes and sections are easy for you and others aren't. It's because on the tunes that you struggle with, you don't yet truly hear the changes, and therefore you can't anticipate them. And you can't anticipate musically what you don't hear. This is why it's hard for you to play over certain tunes or sections of tunes. So, if all that sounds familiar, and I think it will for a lot of players, how do you get past it? How do you develop the ability to anticipate harmony and really hear the route ahead? When you're improvising over a tune, and I'm not talking about sight reading changes on some unknown tune, but a standard, the skill is to anticipate the harmony. You want to be able to hear where you're going. And here's an example of a tune where this ability really matters. Let's take a tune like You Stepped Out of a Dream. The tune starts out unintuitively, and if you don't hear those first, 6 or 8 bars, things are not going to go well because those first 6 or 8 bars come around every 16 bars. The first 2 bars are in C major, and the next 2 bars are up a half step to D flat major, then A flat major, and it goes on from there. You can't possibly play a spontaneous flowing composition, improvising, throughout that first section if your head is occupied about what to play over those 2 bars of C major while you're on that chord, and then transitioning to think about what to play over the D flat major bars. Just like our driver in the beginning with his head in the map, right? His focus was about 6 inches in front of his face rather than seeing in his mind the entire route or tune, to stretch the analogy, right? So maybe this will help. You see, the harmony has to be in your mind before it can come out of your instrument. Your mind is driving, not your instrument. And let me demonstrate that by playing the whole of those first 8 bars. Now, there was a time when that was a really hard tune for me because I couldn't anticipate the harmony. I was stuck figuring out where I was going chord to chord. So the good news for you is this is a skill that you can eventually learn. Now, someone commented on one of my recent videos, and he wrote that it's easy for me to get lost. That is, to get out of sync with the chord progression so that I sound more like a noodler than an improviser. Any suggestions? Well, my thought is that this person is not hearing anticipating the changes. They're not hearing what's coming, and therefore he can't sound purposeful when he solos. Instead, as each chord is played, he's hunting for something coherent to play over that chord, and then when the next chord hits or a modulation is played, he's off on another hunt for what can be played in that chord or key. So if this all sounds too familiar and you find yourself kind of reacting to chords instead of anticipating them, I've created something that'll help. It's called Groovz Playground. It's a play-along platform on musicsavvy.com. Groovz Playground is just a collection of simple 1, 2, 3, and 4 chord loops. You might call them harmonic drones. And they allow you to put your focus on hearing the repeating harmony so that you can focus on melody and flow and anticipation. You know, there's no need to think about changing harmonies, complicated chords coming up, form, or any of that stuff. And there are a few sample loops in the collection. Just sign up for a free Music Savvy account and you'll have access to all of the free samples. Now choose one of these loops and imagine or sing, just don't play your instrument yet, a flowing few phrases of music that is you. And what I'm trying to help you do is remove your instrument from the complication, at least for the moment. So when you do that, what do you hear? Is it different from the noodling on your instrument that lacks direction and musical coherence? And so after imagining and maybe singing, play something similar to that on your instrument over the track. You know, just play a few phrases that sound musical to you. Play phrases that have a deliberate flow and an arc to them. Don't try and play complicated or fast. There's no points for any of that. Just play simple musical phrases that are authentic to you. Now let me give you an example. I'm going to play over one of the free sample tracks. This one's called Sails Full Open. And if you're a Music Savvy subscriber and you have Groovz Playground, choose any track to do this. Now, notice there was an arc and a logic to my little short solo there, right? This is the flow that I'm hoping you'll aim for. It's just like knowing the turns on the route that you're driving and that you've driven 100 times. Consider that when you improvise, right? Even though a bunch of chords and modulations show up, you can still anticipate all of that harmony. But to do that, you got to know the tune really well so that you can hear the changes and anticipate the form, just like you're driving to, church or your local store. So pick a standard that you wish to play over. In your mind, can you hear the flow of changes? Can you hear the bridge coming up? Can you hear the modulation that's about to occur? Can you imagine a coherent solo that you play over this harmony? Maybe sing for a bit over the harmony that you hear in your imagination. This is you knowing the route, in your mind without having to have the map in your face. Now, add your instrument and play something similar to what you imagined or sang. Now, maybe for a simpler tune, play your instrument over the changes that you only hear in your mind. What I'm encouraging you to do is trust your musical instincts so that you can start singing more through your instrument. Now, this assumes that you've listened to a lot of music that's stored in your subconscious because, very few of us are innovators who can just play great music without first hearing years of examples of great music. I'm not sure anybody can do that. So, doing what I'm recommending also requires a lot of focused listening to all sorts of music, not just jazz. Not just jazz. And out of that focused listening, your own authentic musical voice is going to emerge more and more. And you'll hear it in your improvising once you can anticipate the harmonies better that you're playing over. There are no surprises anymore. You've moved beyond noodling or treading water, so to speak. Put down the map and let your musical instincts take the wheel. I think you'll be surprised by what you start to create. And if you want more of this, I have a lesson called Harmonic Anticipation within my video-based course called Improvisation Savvy. And this lesson will give you different examples and exercises to help you just continue building your strength in this crucial area. So check that out at musicsavvy.com. And while you're there, look around. I really think I've built a collection of some unique tools that will help you become a much better and more confident improviser, no matter what your instrument. And there are resources for teachers as well, how to teach improvisation to your students, and with some insightful books by Richie Byrek and Dave Liedman, two great teachers of this music. So check it all out at musicsavvy.com.